Hi, I am Rishabh Sharma, roll number 22 PGDM 277, and I'll be talking about history and how it shapes the future for food and agricultural industry. So, in the 1970s, it took about 10,000 pounds of animal pancreas to extract just 1 pound of insulin. So, essentially, you have to kill about 23,500 animals to get their pancreas, which can then be used and processed to create 1 pound of animal insulin. And this process was highly inefficient because there was a lot of slaughtering of animals due to this. So, what happened is a disruption that changed the entire industry, how it worked. So, animal insulin got disrupted by human insulin. So, human insulin disrupted animal insulin in about 13 years by a process called as precision fermentation. Now, precision fermentation has been around for the last 40 years and has the potential to disrupt the dairy industry as well. But how? We are going to see it in the following slides. In this slide, you can see how animal insulin disrupted the market share of animal insulin throughout these years and how it even got shifted to analog human insulin in the forward years, right? So, how do we disrupt milk using precision fermentation? So, milk is essentially water. Milk is 87.7% water, 4.9% sugar, and 3.4% fats. And at the end, the only viable essential material that cannot be found anywhere else is the 3.3% of proteins that are found in the milk, right? So if we disrupt this 3.3% of milk bottle, as we can see on the slide, it will disrupt the whole dairy industry. And we have to understand that how big of a disruption it will be because the 35% of the milk product produced is used for the B2B purposes. So there will be a lot of changes in the B2B processes as well because of the disruption of milk. And the major advantage of this is that all of this can happen without any change in consumer behavior. So all the big disruptions that are happening these days need some kind of human change or consumer behavior change so that this disruption can be executed. But this disruption from precision fermentation of milk can take without any change in the consumer behavior. Now, the costs of precision fermentation, because there is a lot, the dairy industry is huge and it reaches to almost the lowest middle societies in the world as well. So, it cannot be very costly, otherwise, it won't be viable. So, the cost of precision fermentation, as we can see, it has drastically dropped from the 1990s till the 2020. And you can see on this, so you can see here that when the costs come down, how competitive it can get in the various markets, right? So if the cost curve we see at 1995 level, it becomes competitive in the medicine industry. If we see it in the 2000 levels, it can be competitive in cosmetics, materials, and the food industry as well, right? So from 1995 to 2025, we can see the costs being drastically dropped down. So if the cost of precision fermentation keeps coming down as it has in the past decade, it will disrupt major industries like pharmaceuticals, enzyme and scarce protein industry, cosmetics and material industry, and food industry as well, right? So one of the biggest facts, like there is a belief that disruptions in the food industry take place very slowly because there is a lot of consumer behavior that needs to be changed with it. But this is not a very rightly put fact because we have seen in historically, like in the 1980s, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, both big giants in the space, went from sugarcane as a source of sugar to corn as a source of sugar in just 4 years. Right? It took 4 years to completely disrupt the sugarcane industry and change it into a corn-based industry. Right? This tells us about the speed of the disruption in the food industry. And we can also see certain other examples, like in the 1920s, lemons were used as acid bases, right? But now it in 1940, citric acid came and it completely disrupted the market for lemons. Similarly, we can see in cases riboflavin and insulin, right? How it got disrupted. So the shocking facts that we are also going to look at in the further slide by my colleagues, that in spite of having millions of species of plants and animals in this world, there are just 12 plants and 5 animals that account for 75% of the food consumed across the globe. Thus, the food industry is an industry that is just waiting to get disrupted. We are just have to look for alternatives and other things that we can produce in labs, and how they can, like for example, precision fermentation is that can happen in a laboratory. That does not have to wait for a season or a farmer to grow something. So if we are able to disrupt that at a cost which is equivalent to technologies that exist right now, we have the potential to disrupt the food industry, and we are going to see how that happens in the further slides. Thank you.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Vishnu and we're Group 10 and we've chosen agriculture industry for the analysis of our project. So to give a brief introduction, the agriculture industry has seen a significant amount of disruption in recent years with the growing popularity and demand for organic food. So organic farming practices prioritizes the use of natural methods and materials to grow crops and livestock without using any synthetic fertilizers or genetically modified organisms. So in recent years, there has been a significant increase in the demand of organic food and the amount of organic food farming in India. So according to the Agriculture and Processed Food Product Export Development Authority, APEDA, India's organic food exports grew by 51% from 2020 to 2021. The increase in organic food farming has brought a shift towards the sustainable and healthier food options. So coming to the next slide, the impact of the rise of organic food. So the disruption has come about due to a combination of factors, including concerns about health and environmental impacts of conventional farming methods, as well as growing awareness of the benefits of organic food in terms of nutrition and taste. Organic food is now widely available in supermarkets and specialty stores, and organic farming has become a viable option or business for many farmers. In fact, the global organic farming market is projected to continuously grow in the coming years as more consumers seek out health and sustainable food options. However, the shift towards organic farming has not been without its challenges. So lack of awareness and education about organic farming practices in India amongst farmers is one of the major challenges faced. Organic farming practices can be more labor intensive and expensive than conventional farming methods, and there is often a learning curve for farmers transitioning to organic practices, which usually takes a lot of time, because in India, most of the farmers, the land that they inherited are from their ancestors. So all the knowledge that they know about farming is through their ancestors. So I think Indian farmers adjusting to this would also be a big challenge, because they would prefer conventional methods over modern methods, because there's always a communication gap as well. Additionally, organic farmers may face greater risk from pests and weather-related crop damage, as they cannot rely on synthetic pesticides or fertilizers to protect their crops. Overall, the disruption caused by the rise of organic food has been a positive development for both the consumers and the farmers, and it has brought about a greater awareness about the importance of sustainability and healthier food options. Thank you so much.
So hello everyone, I'm going to talk about disruption of ethanol. So a brief about ethanol. Ethanol is a type of biofuel that is produced by fermenting sugars and starches from agricultural crops such as sugarcane, corn, wheat, and other feedstocks. It can be blended with petrol and used as a fuel source for transportation as well as for cooking and heating. Ethanol has several advantages over traditional fossil fuels. It is a renewable fuel source, as it is produced from crops that can be grown and harvested on an ongoing basis. In addition to creating new markets for agricultural products, the use of ethanol as a fuel source can also help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote sustainable agricultural practices. For example, the use of sugarcane-based ethanol has been shown to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 90% compared to gasoline. In countries like India, ethanol production is closely linked to agricultural sector, particularly sugarcane cultivation. Sugarcane is a major crop in both in countries like India and is the primary feedstock used for ethanol production. The production of ethanol from sugarcane has created new opportunities for farmers, particularly small-scale farmers who can sell their sugarcane to ethanol producers. So moving forward, what's the landscape of ethanol in India? In India, the main raw material used for ethanol blended petrol is again the sugarcane. Sugarcane is widely grown crop in India as primary source of ethanol production in the country. Other feedstocks that can be used for ethanol production in India include molasses, corn, and other agricultural wastes. In case of the EBP, ethanol blended petroleum, ethanol is blended with petrol in a certain percentage, which is mandated by the government. The current policy mandates 10% of blending of ethanol in petrol, which is under E10 program, which is expected to increase to 20% in near future in E20 program. To promote the use of EBP, the Indian government provides various incentives and subsidies for the production of ethanol, including a price differential for ethanol and petrol and tax exemptions for ethanol production. These policies have encouraged the use of sugarcane and other feedstocks for ethanol production in India and have led to a significant increase in production and use of EBP in the country. According to a report that is a roadmap for ethanol blending in India 2021 to 2025, India's net petroleum imports was 185 metric tons at a cost of $551 billion in 2021. And a successful E20 program can help government save around $4 billion, that is almost 30,000 crore rupees per annum. So now we are going to talk about how is it disrupting the industry. So first of all is cost. The cost of producing ethanol has decreased significantly in recent years, making it more competitive with traditional fuels. The use of EBP in India can provide cost savings over the longer term, and India can over the longer term, particularly the government provides subsidies or tax incentives to promote the use of ethanol. Second is scalability. The production of ethanol can be scaled up to meet increasing demand, particularly as more feedstocks become available and new production technologies are developed. This makes ethanol a scalable solution for meeting India's growing energy needs. Third one is accessibility. The use of EBP is becoming more accessible in India as the government promotes the use of flex fuel vehicles and mandates a certain percentage of ethanol blending in petrol. This is expected to increase the availability of EBP in the market and make it more accessible to the consumers. The fourth one is adoption. The adoption of EBP in India is increasing, particularly as more awareness is raised about the benefits of ethanol, and the government provides incentives to promote its use. The adoption of EBP is also being driven by a growing demand for renewable energy sources and concerns about the environmental impact of traditional fuels. The last one is convergence. The use of EBP is converging with other disruptive technologies in the sector, such as EVs and renewable energy sources. This convergence is creating new opportunities for innovation and investment in the Indian energy sector. Thank you.
So now I'll be talking about the organic clothing industry. Let's have a brief introduction about the same. The organic clothing industry is a fast-growing industry that focuses on sustainable and environmentally friendly clothing. Organic clothing is made from natural fibers that are grown without the use of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or genetically modified seeds. This type of clothing is typically made from cotton, linen, hemp, or bamboo fibers, which are sustainable and biodegradable. Organic clothing production ensures fair labor practices and supports local communities. Consumers who choose organic clothing support a healthier environment as well as safer working conditions and better wages for garment workers. The global organic textile market is expected to reach $13.8 billion by 2027, driven by increased consumer demand for sustainable products. As awareness of the impact of the fashion industry or the environmental industry grows, more consumers are turning into organic clothing as a way to reduce their carbon footprint and promote sustainable practices. Now let's look at the current state of this industry. This industry has a growing demand for sustainable and eco-friendly fashion. The Indian textile industry produces the largest cotton globally. Lack of awareness and high prices limits the consumer adoption of these clothes. Small scale and cottage industry dominate the production. Government initiatives promote organic farming and textile production. Limited availability of organic dyes and finishes is a problem in this industry. Opportunity for innovation and collaboration in sustainable fashion is a challenge which this industry faces.
Okay, so now we'll be discussing a few of the innovations in the clothing industry. So first, we know that the animal leather we use has it's not sustainable. So mycelium leather, it's a vegan leather. So it is made from the expansive underground root system of mushrooms. So basically, we are expecting that mycelium leather will be the next big thing. And we are estimating the market to grow by nearly 50%. That is according to a research. So basically, using mycelium, the size and shape can be adjusted, so there won't be wastage as the animal hides. Second, the material is hard wearing, supple and breathable, so it makes it a very good alternative for clothing. So currently it is extensively used in the fashion industry. Bold threads, microworks, Eucovative design, all are working on it. And in the last decade, we have seen that artificial substitutes to leather have made a mark. Next, we talk about microsilk. So microsilk is protein based, and the most important point of it is that it is fully biodegradable. Coming to the uses, you might be wondering that the clothes you wear might have toxins and they might enter our body and cause harmful reactions. So this microsilk, it is made using such a technology that microbubbles are able to enter the skin pores, lift out toxins and impurities, and they carry oxygen to our skin cells. But microsilk is still in the research and development phase, and only certain companies like Bold Threads, they have like in the fashion weeks and all, they have sold more than 100 pieces of it. So the global silk market is expected to grow by 10% in the next decade, and microsilk is surely gonna be one of the disruptive innovations there. Next, coming to algae fabrics. So basically, we are the industry is trying to make a technology that will make us wear clothes which are full of life. So biogarment actually acts as an emotional interface between the user and the clothes. As we are dealing with the problem of hyper consumerism, so algae fabrics is quite an effective solution for it. Currently, certain scientific labs like Post Carbon Lab and certain designers, they have been working on it. We are expecting that algae accessories would be the best thing in the future.
My name is Nidhi Kiran, and I'll be talking about the current challenges in the implementation of the organic clothing industry. So the first one is the sourcing of organic materials. It is one of the biggest challenges, as the organic fibers such as cotton, hemp and linen are not always readily available and can be more expensive than the conventionally grown fibers. The next is the lack of infrastructure. So the organic clothing industry is still relatively new, and there is a lack of infrastructure to support it. This includes processing facilities for organic fibers as well as the certification bodies to ensure that the clothing is truly organic. Next is certification. So certification is crucial in organic clothing industry to ensure that the cloth is genuinely organic. However, the certification process can be time-consuming and expensive for producers, which can make it difficult for small-scale producers to enter the market. The next one is consumer awareness. Despite the growing interest in sustainable fashion, many consumers still do not understand the benefit of organic clothing. This lack of awareness can make it challenging for producers to market their product and gain traction in the market. And the last one is pricing. Organic clothing can be more expensive than conventionally produced clothing due to the higher cost of organic material and production. It can make it challenging for the industry to compete with fast fashion and other low-cost alternatives. In general, establishing an organic clothing business demands a sizable financial commitment as well as infrastructure and knowledge. Yet, the organic clothing market is probably going to keep expanding as the customer becoming more conscious of the effects their clothing choices have on the environment and society. Now, how can these disruptions catalyze the future growth? So the disruption in the organic clothing industry can be a catalyst for growth by spurring innovation, collaboration, consumer awareness, and investment. This can lead to development of new technologies, processes, and products that improve the quality, efficiency, and sustainability of the industry. And the industry players may come together to develop new standards, certification programs, and infrastructure to support the growth of organic clothing. It will also help finance the growth of new and existing companies in the organic clothing industry and enable them to scale up and reach a wider audience. Thank you.